Well, Jeff Zelkowitz is the lead author of an APCO Worldwide report titled Foreign Direct Investment in an America First Administration. Now, the report gives us insight into what we can expect from Chinese investment under a Trump administration. I spoke with Zelkowitz and asked him to expand on the report's highlights.
The big trend is that Chinese investors are coming to America. Last year was a record year for FDI, 46 billion of Chinese investment in the U.S. So Chinese companies want U.S. assets, they're willing to pay up, and U.S. partners are very often eager for this investment. That said, we're also living in a more politicized world. We see that everywhere, and we also see that in the deal world. Deal making has become tougher, more complex, and more politicized. And this is a global phenomenon I want to emphasize. It's affecting U.S. and European companies as well. So into the mix, we now have the Trump administration, and President Trump has come in very forcefully, articulating an America First policy. And there is some risk that we see the rising tensions over trade with China and other countries could also spill over into the investment climate as well. But we also look at some of the things the Trump administration wants to do. So we see now tax reform is at the top of the agenda, paring back regulations on business. These are things that should be very positive for investment and could actually attract a big influx of FDI. So for Chinese companies, there remains an opportunity in the U.S., but they need to understand and be able to navigate this landscape.
Now, you mentioned in your report that you have a checklist for Chinese investors. So give us some items on there. How should Chinese investors really approach this new Trump administration?
They should approach a deal as they would with any deal, which is it's a business transaction. And they need to make sure that they really explain very well the business case and the financial positives of the deal, and as much as possible be able to come back to this. They need to essentially explain who they are. A lot of Chinese companies and investors are not well known here, what they're doing, and why it's going to be good. Number two, in this landscape, in this America First environment that we're in, it's definitely a positive to be able to demonstrate a win for the United States. So is the transaction going to positively impact job creation? Is it going to bring new investment? How is it going to affect the business presence in key regions? These are things that are always good to talk about, but particularly so now. The third is who are the stakeholders that you're going to need to engage with? Customers, employees, various government officials. You want to really build positive support for the transaction and allow as many people as possible to see the benefits. You also need to anticipate that there's risks out there in the landscape, and there is the possibility that your deal, either if you're a state-owned company or if there are potential national security concerns, that opponents may come in and seek to either block it or ask for mitigation. So, we have this CFIUS process in the U.S., the Committee for Foreign Investment in the United States, which is an intergovernmental review process. It's voluntary. So having a voluntary submission to CFIUS is one way to vet the transaction and demonstrate that it's been thoroughly vetted by the government. And then finally, number five is just, as with any transaction, there are all kinds of conventional merger execution risks with strategic fit, cultural issues, integration issues, customer and employee issues, and let's not forget about just good deal and post-merger integration, getting that right.
We know that at the state and local level, we're seeing much more willingness to be open to Chinese investment. So is that the best strategy then when it comes to trying to access the U.S. market?
Absolutely. If you look around the country in the U.S., governors, mayors, other local officials are really trying to woo investors to either revive or build new industries, to add jobs, to extend prosperity further. So a lot of times they are the biggest advocates for investment, whether it's domestic or foreign. And you've seen some great examples of this, for instance, in the auto manufacturing sector.